What's poppin', everyone? Adama here. Now, if you know Tecno, you know that they release different kinds of smartphones in a year. There are the entry-level phones, the budget phones, the battery phones, the camera phones, the flagship phones. Well, flagship-ish phones. They're not really flagships, but they're their highest end phones. Now, earlier this year, Tecno released the Tecno Pouvoir 3, which had a 5,000 mAh battery, which was the key selling point. Now, later this year, Tecno released the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus. So what does the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus have over its elder brother that makes it stand out? Let's find out. Now, the Tecno Pouvoir 3 and the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus are not actually the same in design, even though they're actually the same in design. Now, here's what I mean. The Tecno Pouvoir 3 had more like a plain color, no glossy look, no gradient finishes. It's dual cameras, flash, and Tecno branding. Now, the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus has a glossy finish, triple cameras on the back, flash, and Tecno branding. Now, that glossy finish, yes, it looks premium, it's beautiful. I have no problems with it. But please note, it's not glass, it's plastic. And also, the glossy finish makes it an absolute fingerprint magnet. So basically, as you're holding this phone, if you don't have the clear case that they included in the box one on the phone, then you just know you have to be cleaning your phone every 2 to 3 seconds to ensure that it doesn't look absolutely nasty. But then overall, the design, it's a good refresh from what we had on the Tecno Pouvoir 3. On the left hand side is where you see one new feature that was added, which is the colored button over there. Now, that is the Google Assistant button. Now, in normal smartphones, all you just have to do to get your Google Assistant is either long press the home button or say, hey, don't worry, I won't say it, and the Google Assistant will come up. But then in this phone, all you just have to do is press the press the Google Assistant button once. Your Google Assistant comes up, you yell whatever commands you want to yell at it, and it's done. This is a welcome change in the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus. I'd rather have that than just be shouting, hey Google, oh my God, all the time. So it's better and I like it. On the right hand side, you have your power button and volume rocker keys. On the left hand side is where you see the dedicated SIM card tray, which has its own micro SD card slot, so no need to sacrifice your SIM 2 slot or SIM 1 slot for expandable storage. And then at the bottom you have your micro USB port, headphone jack, and speaker grill. Now, I'm not going to talk about the micro USB port till the full review. Please do subscribe if you actually want to see the full review. It will come pretty soon, don't worry about that. And that should be everything. It's a big leap from the Tecno Pouvoir 3, but it's not really a very big leap. It's sort of in the middle. I like it. I don't like flashy designs in phones, so this is a welcome change. Now, the display is actually another place where you see a very major difference. Now, the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus has an AMOLED display as opposed to an LCD display on the previous Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus. Now, this is very good, as the Tecno Pouvoir 3 is known to be a battery phone. So the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus, which is also a sibling to that, is a battery phone, and AMOLED panels are always known to fare very well with battery due to the fact that most pixels die when they are not needed and come back on when they are needed. If you don't understand what I just said, I'll make a video on that, don't worry. Now, the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus has a 6.35-inch screen. It's a 720p screen though, which is a bit of a bummer, but then it's better than not having a high-res screen at all. The bezels are pretty thin, even though my problem is with that chain. The chain is a bit much for me, but there are people in this world who will absolutely not care. But then one thing I know that people will actually care about is the notch. It's a teardrop notch, so it's not really an iPhone 11 or iPhone 10 like notch. So you don't really need to worry about that. And if you absolutely hate the notch, I believe that in the software, you can actually hide the notch. Now, some other things to note. The screen is not really that bright outdoors. I've not really had time to test this phone. I'm just giving my general impressions. But then, it doesn't seem to be very, very bright outdoors. And it's not very, very color accurate. And you can't really tweak the color settings. But hey, it's something we can test as we go on with the phone. Now, one other thing that is different in the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus, well, it's not really a very big change because it makes it the same as most other phones that have been released this year. Now, the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus has a MediaTek Helio P22 processor. It's decent, but well, at least it's based on a 12nm process. So for a battery phone, the lower the nanometer process, the more efficient the chip is, which means it doesn't hit battery life so much. So since it's a 12nm process chip, you don't need to worry too much about it hitting your battery. But then this chip's performance is significantly under what you would likely want to get for this price range. For something of this price range, I was actually expecting to get something like the MediaTek Helio P60, which is by far MediaTek's best chip for 2018. But then the MediaTek Helio P22 will get you some average performance in most games, so there isn't much to complain about there. And it has 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of internal storage. Well, you can't really complain much here, even though one major complaint would be the fact that Android 9, which it comes with, takes up about 10 gigs of internal storage space, so you're left with about 22 gigs. And then since iOS is also known to come with a lot of bloatware, let's just estimate that you're left with around 20 gigs of internal storage to use, which is not a lot actually in 2019 standards. But at least there's a dedicated micro SD card slot, so you don't need to worry yourself about that. Now, one thing you will notice that is different from the Tecno Pouvoir 3 and the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus is the fact that the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus has 3 cameras as opposed to 2 on the Tecno Pouvoir 3. Now, these cameras are very, very good in my opinion. They make smartphone photography more versatile. There's a 13 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel wide angle camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. If you ask me, this is a very good camera setup. I would have loved the telephoto lens actually to help me get closer to some other subjects, but hey, there's hybrid zoom, so no issues there. But then my only problem is with the ultra wide camera. I wasn't able to film the ultra wide camera, but then the lens distortion correction is just not there. Like, it leaves more to be desired. I'd rather have more. I think it needs a software update to address that, because the lens distortion correction is just wow. Like, you take a picture, but then you notice that at the edges of the screen, it looks almost like as though you're looking at something through a crystal ball. So Tecno, please just fix that. I think it's something that we shouldn't have to deal with, even if this isn't supposed to be a camera focused phone. But then as for camera shots and how the camera performs and video quality, you have to wait till the full review. So make sure you're subscribed for that. So overall, it's just a typical Tecno product with iOS slapped on top of Android 9 and decent cameras. But then the major thing that I forgot to mention was the fact that this phone, yes, it's not carrying a 4,000 mAh battery, not 5,000, but 6,000 mAh battery. That is wow. So this means that basically this phone is supposed to be crushing it when it comes to battery life. Tecno says that it can stay up to 4 days on. These 4 days doesn't mean that you can be playing games intensively throughout and expect it to last 4 days. No one in his right senses would actually think that the 6,000 mAh battery will take you, well, probably 2 days of medium usage. But then it can take you to the end of a day and with maybe a little bit more juice left, say 12-15% in the next day, if you are playing games heavily throughout, because 6,000 mAh is a lot. And then it's very surprising that it's a 6,000 mAh battery, but the phone does not feel heavy at all, which is very, very impressive. Very nice work, Tecno. So that's been it for the Tecno Pouvoir 3 Plus. What do you think about this device? And like I said, the full review will be coming very, very soon. So please do subscribe if you want to see that on time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later. Peace.